if you go back in time, what would you do? And so obviously you kill Hitler. And then, so I have 2 words for you. Adolf Biffler.
No.
Welcome to Please Make This Movie, a show where we take a beloved movie or TV series and create the perfect sequel, prequel, or spinoff. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at PMTMPod. There you can vote on any polls or make any suggestions for future episodes. Today we're talking Back to the Future. Let's start with a recap of the movie. So what do you guys think is like the key features of Back to the Future? What are the things that everybody needs to know?
The main plot is a boy not trying to bang his mom.
Despite her best efforts.
A quick summary pulled up. So I'm just gonna read through it really fast.
Go for it.
In this 1980s sci-fi classic, small-town California teen Marty McFly is thrown back into the 1950s when an experiment by his eccentric scientist friend, Doc Brown, goes awry. Traveling through time in a modified DeLorean car, Marty must encounter young versions of his parents and must make sure they fall in love or he will cease to exist. Even more dauntingly, Marty has to return to his own time and save the life of Doc Brown.
Yeah, I feel like I rewatched, not the whole movie because I'm not that dedicated to this whole thing, but I got about halfway through and I completely forgot that the very beginning of the movie, Doc Brown just gets shot up and dies.
Yeah, by Libyan terrorists.
Yeah. Like I remembered the terrorists, but I forgot that he died at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah. No. No. In a Volkswagen Beetle van of all things for some fucking reason.
Those terrorists felt very problematic. Like I don't know that they were, but just knowing when the movie was made, it really felt like there was probably something racially incorrect about the whole situation. So some like touchstones to the movie that I feel like we have to carry through into a prequel are definitely the time travel aspect. Like I don't think you can make a Back to the Future movie without any sort of time travel. What else do you guys think?
The relationship between Doc Brown and Marty is definitely key. We don't want to have a prequel just with Doc and without Marty, although you totally could. I don't know what you guys have come up with, but
I also feel like maybe running more so through all three than just the first one is this weird like sexual tension between Marty or Doc and somebody from the alternate timeline. Because it like,
not to interrupt, but I got some sexual tension in mind just to grease you up.
All right, that's exactly what we're looking
not
for.
Not only tension, but there's it's incestuous sexual tension.
Yeah, I know, because like in some of the shots, like it's not only like Marty's like weirded out by his mom coming onto him, but it's almost like he wants to fuck his mom but shouldn't. Like,
yeah,
it's super weird.
Yeah, he's got like a weird look in his eye.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, she's so cute, but it's my mom.
Well, he's like, I would if I could, but I shouldn't, so I won't.
He doesn't know the rules. For all he knows, if he were to do that, then she wouldn't be his mom. He'd be
his own grandpa.
And he would have written a horrible Christmas song.
Yeah. Or what if he didn't go back? What if that happened? Then he wouldn't go. He wouldn't go to the future. He'd just now live in this version of the present, where him and his former mom are together.
Who knows? What other things? Like, I don't know. Obviously, we need Biff. We need Biff in there. I think he has to be in there.
Biff is integral. And like even in Back to the Future 3, there's not Biff, but there is just the actor who plays Biff as just the bad guy. So even if we don't have a character that is outright Biff, there has to be the Biffness of the movie.
In the third one, if I'm not mistaken, the Biff stand-in that's played by that actor is like an ancestor of Biff from the movie.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like his great grandfather.
That tracks. I mean, that would make sense. He looks exactly the
No
same.
fact checking. So if we get stuff wrong, I think that's key.
The other thing that I wrote in my notes was just in all caps, Huey Lewis and the News, because they hammer that music so hard. And the funniest thing, just rewatching Back to the Future for me, was the song that he listens to on his headphones when he's riding a skateboard at the beginning is the same song that his own band plays when he auditions. And so in the movie Back to the Future, Marty McFly listens to his own band, and he is Huey Lewis in the News. And I just think that's the weirdest thing.
Oh man, time travel shit, man.
The other thing that I think is there's got to be skateboarding. There's got to be some sort of there's the skateboard, the hoverboard. He's always doing that thing where he holds on to the bumper of a car, which seems like ridiculously dangerous.
The sketching, the Bart.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I think that needs to make its way in. I'm sure they did it in some weird way in the third one with like a horse and buggy or something.
We'll try to check those boxes. Yeah, I think that's the main stuff. I mean, there's a lot of references I want to put in there, but I want to save that for my pitch. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to move on to each individual pitch?
Yeah. I'm hesitant to even talk about too many of the main points. Like you guys said, people definitely know the plot of Back to the Future. And I'm worried if we talk about it too much, if we break it down, we're going to start divulging information about our pitches.
Yeah. So who wants to start?
Oh man.
Just that.
All right, I'll start. I'll try. Just give me a minute. So, all right. So obviously it's a prequel, and I wanted the main chunk of the story to be, I'm going to just go off of Marty's age, like 12, 13, 14, that like young teenage years. Honestly, maybe even younger than that, probably like 11, 12. I want him to still be a child when this part takes place. And I want the movie to, I got a little bit detailed, but there's some scenes I really want in this. So essentially the main conflict of the movie is that Doc doesn't go back in time, actually, which kind of ruins one of our main it ruins one of our main requirements, but there's some time travel that's going to come in there later, so trust me. So Doc needs to get a special element. I called it Axiom. I don't know, that sounds like some science bullshit a movie would make up. Some like MacGuffin out of a government laboratory, and he needs young Marty to help him out. Not young Marty specifically, but Uncle Joey, who is the dude who was imprisoned, if in that one line in the beginning, his name's Uncle Joey.
Yeah, he's just a baby.
Uncle Joey's in prison. Well, why is he in prison? Well, he probably got arrested trying to steal Axiom with Marty and Doc. So that's the main conflict. But I wanted to start off with so in Back to the Future, Doc goes back, and Marty goes back in time and he sees Doc. So Doc knows Marty exists that whole time before he's even born. So I have this image of Doc just kind of following around Marty in this like intro montage of he's at Marty's getting born and he's dressed up as a nurse in some scrubs and a mask so no one could recognize him. And then, the legs bust open. He goes, "Great Scott!" And it's horrible to see or something. And then it goes to him at Marty's birthday party. And it's he's a mad scientist. Because if you've noticed on his truck, he's got Doc E Enterprises 24-hour services. So maybe he does kids parties and shit. It's scientific services where he does kids parties.
Okay.
And just stuff on that. But I want the one of the main antagonists is going to start off from when Doc introduces himself to Marty at a park. Him and young Biff. I mean, their bullying has to start right from them. I don't know, maybe Biff is calling him a chicken or something, because that comes into the second movie where he said, "Don't call me chicken, you son of a bitch." And that
Are you saying young Biff and Marty they're coming up?
Yeah, they're playing.
Well, Biff is Marty's dad's age.
Oh my god! Oh fuck!
That's a problem.
Sorry to come down.
All right, it's ruined.
But no.
Just
I think roll with it. Roll with it. It's a prequel.
It's all shattered.
Well, yeah.
It's all shattered.
No. Here's how we save that idea. Doc Brown, because Biff's an asshole, like makes him old, or sends him back in time, or some crazy shit, and then like problem solved.
So Biff has lived several lives.
I like that, but I fixed
Yeah.
my own problem. So the kid is Biff's son. We'll just put it that way. Biff has a son named Biff Jr. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? It's a stupid prequel movie. It's horrible. It shouldn't be made. So we have Biff, and then we have shit, it actually does fuck up my thing. Because I'm going to tell you anyway because I thought it was funny. So that's why we have 3 different ideas. So we have Officer, I was going to have Officer Biffley Tanner. And essentially he sees Biff and Marty at the playground, and he thinks, and Doc approaches Marty to like, we have to get the axiom, Marty. And Marty's like, who are you, old man? And Officer Biffley thinks he's a pedophile trying to pick up his son.
Okay.
And the it's a scattered like I don't know, antagonist relationship where Officer Biffley is trying to catch Doc, who's like a pedophile, like going around with little kids, but he's really just trying to get like this axiom, and it's like a reoccurring thing. But yeah, that's the basic gist of me. This is a normal like burglary movie. Like they have to introduce themselves to Marty, break it, introduce the conflict, talk to Uncle Joey, break in, prepare for the breakout, and then they get the axiom for the flux capacitor.
So I really like the Doc knowing that Marty is going to exist, and so following him around and like watching him grow up idea. So I think like if it works for whatever idea we decide, I think that's like that as like an opening montage of like Marty going away in 1955 and then Doc having that aha moment, and then like somehow setting all that up as he watches him grow up until like the perfect moment to like he's basically grooming him. But so Storm, do you want to go next?
Yeah. I do want to say the name Biff Lee Tanner is really, really funny. I'm giggling to myself so much thinking about that. Is it Biff Lee, as in Lee, L-E-E is his middle name, or is it Biffley, B-I-F-F-L-Y?
The latter, Biffley, L-Y.
Biffley? B-I-F-F-L-Y?
I couldn't think of a fucking name. Like, he wouldn't just be Biff or Biff Jr. or Sr.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even matter because I wasn't paying attention to time traveling.
I think...
Hey, don't worry, because when I give my pitch, I have the A1 Biff like pun name coming just right through the shoot. Like it is basically my entire pitch. So.
The name. All right. Should there's one more thing. Should we go into cast yet? Because I got some funny.
Let's wait until we get everybody, and then that might change our ideas a little bit of what we're looking for.
That's my brief pitch. I'm done.
I want to keep the name Biff Lee Tanner in kind of in reserve to bring back no matter what, even if we don't roll with Nick's pitch. That name is too good to leave behind.
I like it.
I can go next.
All right, let's go for it.
So I based my pitch around a couple of minute details that happen right at the beginning of Back to the Future. In the montage where Marty goes into the garage, plays the amp, or is it a warehouse or a garage or a shed? Wherever Doc is living is like not the best place. He's living in squalor, and there's all sorts of cables and machines and stuff lying around. When they go in there, the camera pans around, and Nick actually pointed this out to me. There's a newspaper clipping that says Brown Mansion burned to the ground. So my first thought was that the movie would take place mostly in Brown Mansion, and this event just happened. This is like maybe a couple months before the movie. And it's how Doc and Marty met. So Doc is holed up at Brown Mansion, and he's got all these machines and stuff, the clocks, there's toasters, there's coffee machines, and speakers, amplifiers, because currently Doc is obsessed with the idea of sound breaking the time barrier instead of speed. So at the end of the movie, he's going to learn that he needs to focus on speed instead of sound. But Doc gets hooked up with Marty. I'm going to modify my pitch a little bit here because I like the idea of him already knowing that Marty is important. So he's following him around and just trying to find what the reason is for them to get connected. But the reason is Marty's particular guitar playing is fitting right into this nice little pocket of sound that Doc thinks will help them to break this time barrier. But what happens is instead of them going back in time, it's kind of a Bill and Ted situation, and they open up a time portal and accidentally bring through two of Doc's not mentors, but scientific idols, being Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Edison. Because at the beginning of the movie, when they show that clipping of the Brown Mansion burned to the ground, it then pans over and there's two pictures on the wall. One is Thomas Edison and one is Benjamin Franklin. So my idea is basically they've got a time portal opened up in a mansion, and then some maybe unsavory figure from history also comes through, and it's kind of a wacky hijinks movie, kind of a Scooby-Doo situation of Marty and Doc teaming up with Thomas Edison and Benjamin Franklin to take down, I'm going to go ahead and say Ghost Hitler, and close the time portal. But then they learn that instead of using sound, he needs to use speed so that they can go back instead of pulling people out of time.
I think that yours and mine are going to be able to combine into one very nice mashup.
Right on.
So I do like the Bill and Ted, like bringing Ben Franklin and Thomas Edison and like these other scientists in, and like they're the actual ones that make the discovery of time travel, not Doc, because Doc sucks. He's not he's not a successful inventor.
Go back to that Rube Goldberg machine that was super shitty in the beginning of like the first movie. It's just like, all right, side note, I'm sorry, but like what? There was something about like, I think it was like the Pee Wee Herman movie, where it's just like, who the fuck like wants a shitty Rube Goldberg
every
to make
movie,
the breakfast?
Every
it's
movie in the
to
80s has that of like, my alarm goes off, toast is made, coffee is poured, the dog is fed. Like, just get up and do it yourself, because then there's always like some malfunction or some bullshit going wrong with it to show that like, well, check out this wacky inventor who doesn't quite have it.
Yeah, and your molecules are supposed to be zapped to another time period.
Yeah, and you're trusting this guy to drive a car directly at you 88 miles an hour.
You see that burnt crispy piece of toast? Fuck that, I ain't getting into Doc's time machine.
I do like when you started talking about the amp, it reminded me of something Nick and I were talking about. He had the idea of having the whole prequel just be centered around sorry, it's so funny. Building this giant amp for Marty's band competition, and then in the original he comes in and just plays one chord and destroys the entire thing and undoes the entire prequel.
Yeah, but it was too stupid, and I like it to be like I want these prequels to be like horrible, like big money grabs that should never be made. But I also want them to be like slightly more realistic, and that's just
in there as a recurring gag, kind of in the background of a bigger story.
So, going off of realistic and not super dumb, I think that's the perfect time for me to share my idea. I was telling Nick, I had this idea of like a multiverse with multiple timelines and having it be so convoluted that you like couldn't really understand what was going on. But then when I was driving home from work today, I was like, nope, I got a better idea. And so I thought about what every time travel like question comes down to. If you go back in time, what would you do? And so obviously you kill Hitler. And then, so I have two words for you. Adolf Biffler.
No! Oh no!
So it is exactly what it sounds like. The actor Biff is just Hitler. And it turns out Biff's family is related to Hitler. So I don't really have any other story beyond that other than Doc and Marty as like an uncomfortably young boy who's involved in this plot to kill Hitler. Um, and then I think we could all tie it back to the reason Marty doesn't know any of this in the original movie is because of the severe trauma, because as a young child, he had to murder a man. Um, and so that's pretty much what I have. I literally wrote down somehow get back to World War II Germany to kill Biff. So I think what would make sense with that storyline is basically have Doc come back from the past, and Biff has basically turned into it can be Biff Lee Tanner is the president of the United States and just running shit into the ground. And so the Biff line needs to be stopped, and he's went back to the present of Back to the Future 2. He's went back to 1985. He's went back to 1955. He's went back to all these different places, and he's finally traced it back to 1940s Germany, as like this is where the Biff family line branches into the evil Biff. And so we need to take it out. And it could even be like a reveal of we just know they're going to Germany because that's where the family's from. And then it's like, holy shit, it's not, it's Biffler.
Well, that fits. Storm even said Ghost Hitler. Just make it.
Yeah.
Real.
And so we just make it Biffler.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So do they stop Biffler, but like in real history, somehow Hitler takes power and just kind of like fucks up the whole timeline? Because go ahead. But like,
I don't have an answer to that question because again, I thought of the name Adolf Biffler, and that's pretty much where my thinking stopped on that idea.
I have an idea there, you guys. In Back to the Future 2, when they come back to the Hell Valley version of 1985, Biff is pretty much Donald Trump, or he's a Donald Trump-esque figure.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm going back and finding out that Biffler, or Biff was a Hitler figure. Is Biffler just straight up Hitler? Is that
yes?
Okay.
It is the actor Biff, but with like a little Hitler mustache and slick down hair.
Okay. So I think even if they were to stop Biffler, you've established that the lineage of the Tanner family goes back to Germany and Adolf Hitler. So then when you come Back to the Future, it's now similar to the evil 1985 and Back to the Future 2. It's a similar modern day, but that version, that Trumpian version of Biff, is the president, the evil president.
Yeah. I like that. Speaking of Trump, though, completely unrelated. I wanted, and I don't care how it happened, if they happened to stop in the year 2016 and accidentally pick up a newspaper like the Almanac. I just really wanted this joke of someone looking like Marty looking at the newspaper, and like Doc's like, Marty, don't look at that newspaper from 2016. You don't know what knowledge you can know, and it'll mess up the future. It's like, but Doc, look, Hillary Clinton's the first female president.
Oh no!
Stop, Marty. You might alter events extremely. You don't know what horrible travesties might make. It's like horrible jokes.
I thought you were about to make like a Ronald Reagan the actor joke, but I didn't know where you were gonna go with like Donald. Like I don't even know what term you would use to classify Donald Trump in the Donald Trump the asshole.
No. Just like a nice sly little nudge that Hillary.
Yeah, I like that. Like that hurts, but I think that'd be funny.
Yeah.
I'd just blame Michael J. Fox.
Oh yeah, I had this idea that Michael J. Fox was like Marty's great grandpa who's dying of Parkinson's. Not like as like a fun, but like as like an ode to Michael J. Fox. Like and then like a heartfelt thing. Like where
I really like the
Marty's
idea. So I checked to make sure that Christopher Lloyd was still alive.
Yeah.
Because I really like the idea of having Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd somehow appearing as like far future versions of Doc and Marty of like they just pop up and they're like, oh shit. And then they like there's some other thing that's happening that they're going back into this timeline that this movie's spanning, but like we don't even know what's going on.
Wait, Christopher Lloyd's still alive?
I think so.
Let's confirm that right now. I'm gonna pull that up just to make.
I thought he died recently. Oh, he's still alive. Fuck me. All
right, confirmed, alive.
No, he's super old, but he's I don't know that he would be in a movie.
Didn't he appear?
He is in pre-production of movies right now, according to IMDb. So,
okay, wasn't in that movie that Seth MacFarlane movie, the cowboy.
A Million Ways to Die in the West.
That one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown is
yes, there was a definite Back to the Future joke in that movie.
Well,
all right, so what idea or combination of ideas are we going to roll with here?
Well, one of my jokes completely screwed it up. So with Biffley, the Biff timeline getting screwed up. So I say we combine yours and Storm's, and then just use my little montage of Doc getting to know Marty. So I say like a nice little introduction montage, like of a little goofy. You know, we got Marty going back, go up, and then we do start at like Storm's mansion premise, I guess, like work into there. And then when the presidents, or not as presidents, but like what was it, Benjamin Franklin? Who else was it? Wasn't I?
Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison. Yeah. So like the first part of the movie is like finding those two, and then they go back to the future to fight the Third Reich with Adolf Hitler.
Would they go? They would go back, like maybe back to try to take Franklin and Edison back to their times, and in skipping through time, they encounter Biffler.
I think that works too. Basically they do this time portal. Ben Franklin, Thomas Edison are there, and they're like, we have to take them back. Like, don't tell them anything. And it's Ben Franklin and Thomas Edison aren't necessarily like big roles. They're just like, we need to put them back in their timeline before anything changes.
Okay. Well, real quick. So to make it, so let's say we're present world, Adolf Hitler is still in charge. Like that's still the history. There's not pictures of Biffler around. It's Hitler. So when they go back,
there's not pictures of Biffler and Doc's mansion.
Dude, man, I want to Photoshop a Biffler pic ASAP. But anyway, but let's say when they go back to get like Thomas Edison or Benjamin Franklin, some historical mishap happens where like something happens to Biff, like Marty like does something like an accident to like the Biff family that like I don't know, maybe like that distraughts young Adolf Biffler, and
so I think
creates Biffler instead of Hitler, like, and I don't know, it creates like this alternative universe.
I think if we like force in, because Ben Franklin and I keep saying Thomas and Edison, and that's not a person. Ben Franklin and Thomas Edison are both like American inventors. So if we could somehow, like, I think if we could get Einstein just in there.
I have an Einstein idea because the dog's name is Einstein. Thinking that dog is literally the consciousness of Einstein stuck in a dog, and that's but they don't acknowledge that at all in the other movies, but that doesn't mean it couldn't totally be the case.
Like they go back, that could be the thing. They go back to, so they've dropped Ben Franklin off, they've dropped Thomas Edison off, they're dropping Einstein off, and something goes down, and Einstein like dies. He's like on his deathbed, and they have to save him. And whatever it was that is the event that ended up with Einstein dying, that's somehow how the Biffler family rose to power, either because they were like wronged in that situation, or like they absorbed something from that. I don't know.
So this is going to be kind of far-fetched and pretty weird, but Hitler was known to paint pictures of dogs.
What? Why do you know that?
I think
that's a very common fact. They were like German shepherds, right?
Yeah.
Keeping it in the bloodline, even with fucking dogs.
But okay, so say Biffler is involved in this thing where he Einstein turns into the dog version of Einstein, or dies. His consciousness is separated, and but the dog version does something that wrongs Hitler. Just so that little tidbit of him
or
uh,
Biffler. I can't keep saying the name. Biffler sees them put Einstein's consciousness into this dog,
okay.
and he keeps telling people this, and they won't believe him. And then the rage from that builds up to where he basically becomes Adolf Biffler
I like
because
that.
no one will believe him, and he's like blaming, like I don't know, like they crash into a building or something and destroy it, and his family gets blamed for it. He's like, no, it was him, it was this dog. And they're like, whatever, man.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I really like that idea of Adolf Hitler, or I'm sorry, Adolf Biffler, having this this like rage. People don't believe him. He's going crazy. He seems like a crazy guy, and so that drives him. That ability to prove, or that need to prove that what he saw is real, that drives him to become the Hitler that we all know historically.
I thought you were going to say the Hitler that we all know and love, and I was like, whoa.
I paused so as to not say that.
All right, so inevitably we're going to get the real Einstein's consciousness into the dog Ein, or Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is good. This is good.
So then we have Einstein the dog now, seen by Adolf Biffler, who tries to tell people, they don't believe him. And we see, like, we don't see him necessarily like coming to power then, but we see like a spark of rage. And then they jump forward to like a future timeline. And that's when we see the Donald Trump Biff, the Hell Valley Biff. And they're like, oh no, what went wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it's this, like, they look at the dog, and we have that comedy dog, like, and then they know, like, well, it's this event, and they go back and they watch.
In that future timeline where you've got the Biff, the Trumpian Biff as president, you could totally drop in your Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd as old guy cameos.
I think that would work really well, right? Yeah. Like they're there and they're like, oh no, and then they like it could just be there. The car is there. They like pop open the wings of the DeLorean and they look out, and it's literally like the world is burning. And they're like, well, we done fucked up, Marty. And they have to go back.
Yeah, what do they have to change, do you guys think? So Hitler saw, or Biffler saw something, and it pushed him.
So I think it's that they have to kill Adolf Biffler.
Okay.
So that the real Hitler,
that he
can do his own. Like,
I don't think they should kill Biffler, but
they
need
like the message that Hitler is better. But I feel like they need to write history.
No. What they need to do is they're trying to replicate the history that they know, because they want it to be,
because they know that. Yeah,
I was about to say as pure, but due to the context, it's probably not good. But as true as possible. They want the timeline to be as true as possible, because I don't know. Doc says, "You don't know what's going to happen, Marty." Like,
or we could make it so like they write the timeline, and then as they're like getting back into the DeLorean to go back to the present day, they come across the real Adolf Hitler, and he's just an asshole. And like Doc or Marty does something to him, and it leaves with like, well, shit, the real Hitler clearly didn't exist then either, because they like, I don't know, or they like peel out and spray mud all over him, and he gets pissed off or something like that.
I have an idea for the kind of the incident that needs to be fixed. Let's say Adolf Biffler, the ancestor to Biff Tannen, in Germany, he's about to get on a boat to immigrate to the United States, but he sees them teleport into 1930
Yeah.
Germany, and he sees the dog version of Einstein. He sees Einstein turn into a dog, and that causes him to not get on the boat. He stays in Germany. So and then he becomes Biffler, and he leads the Third Reich.
I like that. That's simple. That's very simple.
They have to go back and they have to prevent him from seeing Einstein turn into the dog and get on that boat so that the timeline shifts back to how it was.
Well, and I think they need to go back and not just prevent him, just not let Einstein die.
Oh yeah, that's.
Like, I don't know why we weren't just saying they'd go back and make Einstein live, but
Well, I'm
yeah,
rolling with the presence that Albert Einstein, the scientist, his consciousness is in that dog in the original trilogy.
for the whole. So he continues. He does not survive,
He survives as a dog.
and then in the actual timeline of history, Einstein
Is a
just
dog.
disappeared.
That's
He's
where
a dog.
I think they need to take him from a point where it doesn't affect his impact on history as much.
So like after, yeah. So they go that would be good. So they go back, they put his consciousness, like they save Einstein. So the dog never has Einstein's consciousness. Then we cut back to like close to Einstein's actual death date, and Doc Brown is like picks him up, takes him, and to keep him like everlasting, puts his consciousness into the dog.
I like
Hold
that.
on, we're putting Einstein's consciousness into the dog. It only makes sense that we're putting the dog's consciousness into Einstein.
But
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
moments before his physical death. Is that what we just agreed on? So
Yeah.
they go back to when Einstein is about to die, and Doc, to save him and keep him forever, puts him in his dog's puts him in his dog's body, and then puts his dog's consciousness in Albert Einstein's.
Yeah, man. His last
That's so
words.
fucked up.
His last words are.
And then Doc Brown says, "Good boy,"
Yeah.
and then closes the DeLorean and like fires off, and that just cut to black. End of movie.
I like that.
What's the big conflict, the big problem to solve is stopping Biffler from an accident they messed up. So like I like to think of like them getting the scientist and Einstein as just like the inciting action that kind of starts this whole problem.
Yeah.
That they have like maybe like they try to do something else to fix it, and they're trying to learn what actually messed up the Biffler timeline and why it's so messed up, and they try different things. Like how about they actually try to kill Biffler? But like it doesn't work or something. Like I don't know, they have like clones of him, and like he just comes back to life.
Yeah.
I like the clones idea a lot. That the reason that all the Biffs look the same and are played by the same actor is there's some element of cloning or consistency to them.
Yeah, there's not actually like a bloodline of Biffs. There's just clones.
Doc Brown is placing Biff clones at different points in history to meet the original timeline to try and make things go back to the way they were. What if we don't even know how many times Doc Brown has messed this up? So we don't actually, kind of like a Rick and Morty situation.
Yeah, I think we have like a Rick and Morty style like montage of just multiple tries that fail, and some of them are just like ridiculous. Like they push Adolf Biffler into the ocean while he's waiting for his boat, and like that doesn't work because obviously he's still pissed off and he's still in Germany. Like just a lot of quick flashes of things they're trying to do to write the timeline that obviously fail.
It'd be a fun montage. You could have cameos from other historical figures, perhaps, and the ways they try to take out Biffler.
So I want to go back to what we talked about as like the touchstones of Back to the Future and just kind of check them off. So we obviously have time travel in there.
Yep.
Definitely have Biff.
Oh yeah.
I think we not only hit on the Marty and Doc relationship, but I think we really narrowed down the Einstein relationship very well. This is like an Einstein origin story. The big thing, so we don't have a lot of skateboarding, but we can put that in very easily of like just skateboarding through the Third Reich. Like
No,
I don't know.
No, it's Marty on like what's like a 1940s version of a skateboard. Like what? Like was it like a fucking trolley or like I don't know?
In the 1950s version, I think in the first Back to the Future, it's like a scooter, and Marty rips the top off of it and just uses the bottom of the scooter.
Okay, what could be something that like he can turn into a skateboard?
All I can think of is just a hoop and a stick, and I know that's not time period relevant, uh, or like a giant barrel. Um,
I think about like marbles, like kids playing marbles in the streets, and then him riding on the marbles down some sort of like declined roadway.
What if he puts like a board on the marbles? So like the marble, he's
Yeah.
rolling with the marbles down the hill. The physics don't really check out, but who cares?
What if it's like a marble truck, a whole truck full of marbles,
Yes.
ball bearings?
Yeah,
Marble
the
truck, dude.
very normal 1940s marble truck, and the company is definitely like Marbles Inc.
Marbles Incorporated.
Yeah.
Um,
What would it be in Germany? So Von Marbles.
Von
Das
Marbles.
Das Marbles.
Biffler's Marbles.
So that covers our skateboarding, and then we have probably the biggest thing we're missing then is that relationship, the tension, the incestuous relationship. And I think what we can do is basically when they're in the dark timeline, the 1940s, we have a a version of like Marty McFly's like great grandma who sees him, and it's like, oh yeah. And then it could also be like, oh no, my grandma was like maybe a Nazi.
Oh no! Like he sees her in Germany.
He sees her like in the whole get up,
Wow!
and he's like, no, like what are you doing? No.
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Uh,
Grandma.
and then that,
Wow.
like, I think that replaces the sexual tension with a different type of tension, but it's at least getting that family relationship in there.
Here's something.
Laundry.
Here's something that I wanted to put in that I don't think fits very much anymore, but I still like it. I might have mentioned it to one of you guys, but Doc Brown has like a future wife, like from far in the future, that like where it's like time machines are like they're like a car, you know, everyone's got a time machine. Although that is completely messed up and very convoluted in the story of this world, but who cares? But I just all right. Here's the thing. I just really want Whoopi Goldberg to come back as Doc's wife. That's it. That's it. I just want Whoopi Goldberg to come back as Doc Brown's wife and to like
That would
guide
be
them.
so problematic in the 1940s.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay. So hold on. So Doc ends up having a wife at the end of Back to the Future 3, and a whole family. He's got a wife and kids, and they've got the train version of the time machine. So you're saying this is a different. Doc's got like multiple wives throughout history, and his far future wife is Whoopi Goldberg.
It's the future,
So
bro.
basically,
Fucking
as a
marital
wife,
norms are out the window.
Right on.
as a wife in every timeline he goes to, he just finds somebody, bangs down, has some kids, and that's why the family is so rich at the beginning of the movie, because it's not like a family tree that's split. It is one single, like, all the money goes back to Doc Brown because they're all his grandchildren from all these different timelines.
Whoa.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I want to add to the potential convolution here. In a potential stinger moment at the end, or even like a sequel to the prequel, I think there should be the implication that Doc Brown, this lineage, that Biff is related to Doc Brown. He's one of his kids, or Biff Lur, rather.
I like that. As he is ever chasing Biff, because he knows that Biff is his worst experiment gone wrong.
Yeah, he created him, his offspring,
The clone army.
the Biff.
Yes.
The Biff army.
Alrighty.
All right. So
yeah, go ahead.
do we have anything more to talk about, or do we want to get into casting ideas.
I'm pretty eager to get into casting.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay, so let's start specifically with just Marty. So we talked about Michael J. Fox maybe making a cameo as old Marty. What are we thinking for young Marty?
So I kept thinking the kids are too old right now, but like I was like, it would be such a business move to put like someone from the Stranger Things in there, you know?
Which one?
Yeah,
Well,
I don't think any of them work.
I think
I was
Will.
which one is
The
that?
kid, Will's the kid who disappears in the first season, and then he becomes the mind flayer in the second season.
Dyes
Okay.
hair maybe.
Got like a coconut shaped haircut. Coconut.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
But
about.
you know the mouth kid. I don't know his name. He's got the teeth.
Dustin.
Is his name Dylan?
Dustin.
I don't think it is. The actor's name might be Dylan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dustin might be his.
Dustin. There we go.
Yeah.
He could play. I don't know. He's not really a Biff, but like maybe a younger Biff. I don't know. That's where I first went to for that. But then honestly, like for like what age are we talking about for young Marty? I think we should cut that down.
In my version, I had Marty as the same age.
I think for sake of not having to have a child play the part, we need to keep him like 15, 16 years old, which like that can be played by a 20-year-old, maybe. So do you want to know who I wrote down?
Yeah.
Tom Holland.
Yes, I had Tom Holland. That is awesome.
And I specifically wrote down that he has little bitch energy, that like he really captures the like, well, Mr. Stark, like the Doc like pleading energy.
Oh, Doc. Yeah.
Tom Holland has said that he was influenced by Michael J. Fox's performance as Marty McFly for his Peter Parker performance.
And there's also like there's a deep fake on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have seen this. There's a deep fake of specifically the scene when they go back to the school where Marty and Doc are like talking about what's going on, and Tom Holland. It's a deep fake of Tom Holland as Marty McFly, and it's incredible. Cool. And it's like he was meant to play that role.
Awesome.
It was meant to be. I see. I prepared and like wrote notes down for a little kid one, so mine doesn't really even work anymore. So yeah, I'm down with Tom Holland.
Yeah, the little kid one though, I do like the idea that kid from Stranger Things.
I also don't think it'd be the worst. We're gonna need multiple Martys because we have the whole montage at the beginning, and I think it wouldn't be a terrible idea of like maybe he tries to meet up with Marty too soon and things go wrong. And then it's like, well, we'll circle back around. So we have like maybe a 5-minute section where it is this young Marty, one of those kids from Stranger Things. And then you're like, nope, it's not actually that Marty. I don't know. That's just a thought. Yeah. So what are we thinking about? I'm just going to throw this out. I'm assuming Biff is just going to be the same guy.
It's got to be.
Like, I think we have to just bite the bullet on prosthetics and make him not look super old if he does look super old. I'm assuming that guy is still alive. Thomas F. Wilson is alive. So good news.
Yeah.
And so he could reprise the role of Biff, because I think I think Biff is so central to our story that we can't have a different Biff.
Maybe we can have him as like some older version of Adolf Biffler, but like I want like some CGI Biffs.
Yeah.
Like that's important for me.
The technology exists. Take that same guy, de-age him, do the what was that Will Smith movie? Gemini.
Gemini Man.
Yeah, I mean they did it to Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator movies.
Yeah, they can do it. Army of CGI Biffs.
Yes. So Doc, who do we have for Doc Brown?
I had John C. Reilly for Doc Brown, as in a similar performance to Steve Brule, or at least somewhat there. Kind of just John C. Reilly doing an impression of Christopher Lloyd.
I do like that.
I approve of that.
I had Robert Downey Jr.
Nice.
Also because he was the Doc Brown in that deep
Yeah.
fake that I was talking about. And so I've seen him in the role through CGI, and it works. Because I also think if he has that Tony Stark energy of like, I am a scientist and we're gonna do this with fucking science, I think that works. But I do like John C. Reilly a lot.
All right. I got 3 names I was playing with.
Okay.
John C. Reilly is up there for me. But I got Joaquin Phoenix.
Right on.
Just because
I would
he's got
love
that crazy kind of like, you seen him in the Joker. He's got that physicality to Doc.
Yeah.
that is the Doc performance that we need.
He's a funny guy
Like,
too. He's done funny performances over the years.
I don't know that anybody wants that Doc performance, but I think it needs to exist.
Oh yeah. Second, Willem Dafoe.
Nice. Okay.
He's like close to the real Doc, Christopher Lloyd's age. I just think he'd play a good Doc. And this one's if they're really low budget, Owen Wilson.
Okay.
Marty.
I mean, I could see all of these being, if they were to announce a Back to the Future remake right now, I can see every one of these names being in the running.
Yeah, Owen Wilson is the he's the low budget. He's the low budget Doc. He's the Adam Sandler movie remake of that.
Yeah, I think you're really taking some shots at Owen Wilson.
I think you're really throwing Owen Wilson under the bus.
Yeah.
We would be happy to have you in our film, Mr. Wilson.
Something that I thought about a lot with Doc is Christopher Lloyd has a really specific kind of deep voice. So I toyed around with Seth Rogen, aged up, because there's a scene in, I want to say, Knocked Up or The 40-Year-Old Virgin where
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Doc Brown. And he kind of has a similar quality to his voice. Granted, he's not in the right age range at all. I don't know that he's right for the part, but he does have that deep voice and that very, very, very memorable laugh.
I don't know that he would have the voice for it, but I think Will Forte would bring that Doc Brown energy.
Oh yeah,
as well.
That might be my favorite one, actually.
All right, who are the top? We have John C. Reilly, Will Forte,
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I picked Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's pretty good.
I mean, I think it's just like maybe what we do is if it's in the budget, they all just do a scene. So like, did you guys ever see that movie about Bob Dylan? I think it was about Bob Dylan, where like 4 different actors played Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
We just have every one of them play a Doc Brown in a different timeline and never address it.
I like that idea.
Yeah, as long as it's in a different timeline, that's great.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, you look a little different, Doc. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's just like, and then like we could throw Owen Wilson in there, and that could be the wacky timeline. The wackiest timeline.
The wackiest. Oh, yes, Marty.
I can see that. I can see all of these guys talking to Marty, saying "Great Scott."
Dude, it's crazy that, I don't know, like, it's just Tom Holland was like, yeah, obviously that's going to be Marty, but like Doc was contentious. So we've got Biffler. I don't think there's really anyone else we need to cast. I mean, I think, you could include, Marty's girlfriend, Jennifer, that could come back in there.
I was going to say in the plot that there should be something where they get together. Like we have a scene, maybe Marty is trying to work up the courage, because they've got to have some element of growth throughout the movie as people. Maybe Marty's he's trying to work up the courage to ask Jennifer out. So she's in it, but loosely. And then at the end, once they get back and they fix everything, Marty asks her to be his girlfriend.
And Doc could say, "You've literally killed Hitler."
That's
like what? What else do you have to be scared of at this point, Marty?
Like, I fought the Nazis. What's asking a girl out to the sock hop?
Yeah.
I wanted to mention I had some ideas when I was developing the Ben Franklin and Tom Edison, and honestly it's just because I picked John C. Reilly as Doc, but I like the idea of Tim and Eric cameoing as Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Edison, Eric Wareheim being Ben Franklin, and Tim Heidecker being Tom Edison.
Yeah, I
There's
think
a
that
physical
I I
resemblance.
I think we could get some good cameos in there throughout the historical figures, just like some pretty well known like sketch comedy people just coming in and
Oh yeah.
doing like
Mm.
um. So that brings me to what are we going to title this movie?
Ooh. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I didn't think of a title.
So my um I guess I like my first like working title was Back to the Future dot 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 again. But they're not really going back to the future. So I don't think that works. I and then as we're talking about this, I really want it to be like Bach to the Future, like BACH. But I don't think that like that's just a maybe German reference, but it doesn't apply at all to the movie.
I have a really stupid, long-winded one, but Back to the Future: Past of the Biffler.
Rise of the Biffler.
Rise of
The Biffler. I like Rise of the Biffler.
I also think that another thing that I wanted to get into if we had time was just like how would we advertise for this movie? And I think a great idea, especially for this for how many twists and turns we take, is to not really reveal an Adolf Biffler. Or maybe like that is at the teaser trailer, it is just like pan up from boots up. We see Adolf Biffler, but we never explain that.
No.
Like we let people make that connection that oh my god, Biff's Hitler in this one.
No, we got a trailer and it's just footage from like Hitler's rallies, and you hear the audio, but it's like edited with fucking Biff.
I think our trailer should be the entire like scenes from the entire movie of like pre Einstein's death. So people come into it thinking like, oh, it's this comedy romp with Ben Franklin and Thomas Edison, and then very early on we cut them out of the movie, and then people are like, wait a second, what's going on? Um, and then we just really turn the entire thing on its head because they know that Adolf Biffler is coming, but they don't know how, and they don't know when, and they don't know why.
My favorite part about this is the pretty much reference that like or the implied notion that Trump is Hitler, and the really disgusting political Hollywood move to just be like, we're trying to make a political statement through this shitty Back to the Future movie about Biffler.
I think I maybe missed something or am a little bit confused in the advertisement. Are you saying that we do say in the teaser or the trailer we do show Biffler or we don't show Biffler?
I think that the very last shot of the trailer needs to be a slow pan, like we're
Okay.
goose step walking in Nazi uniform from boots up, and the last shot is a guy turns around and it's Biff, but it's clearly Adolf Biffler. And
I
then
love
the trailer just ends. And so
Okay.
people in the theater see it and they're like,
Yeah.
what the
Okay.
like I
Okay,
have
I
to
will
see
go
this movie.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that's Adolf Biffler is
Yeah,
what's
for
putting
sure.
the
Yeah,
butts
if
in
it
the
came
seats
as
for
a
this
total
one.
surprise, I feel like the audience and critical reactions after the first weekend would be kind of outrageous.
No, I think we tease it, but we do not make it well known that that's what the entire movie is. It seems like there is this reveal because Biff is not like the central, like he is kind of the problem in most of the movies, but he's not really the central problem. He's just more this antagonist, and he kind of is in this movie as well. But I don't think we need to make it obvious that that plot line is centered around him. It's just the reveal of Adolf Biffler.
This is like the perfect ending for the last Back to the Future movie because every movie is just Biff progressing in his bullying. Like,
Yeah, and you can't progress any farther.
Yeah, he's
or regress. So, do we have ideas for movie
I like
titles?
Rise of Biffler.
Are we Back to the Future Rise of Biffler.
That's okay.
I don't want to
Yeah.
give away Biffler though. I think that's our Back to the Future
Yeah.
origins.
Oh,
That's probably what they would call it.
Back to the Future 1942. Just like the year.
I'm trying to not say anything that's like a blatant, nod to the Biffler or the Nazi element. Back to the Future 0.5 or something like that. There's a lot of really dumb naming conventions in prequels and sequels.
I like the 0.5.
Back to the Future 0.5. I say we choose that one.
Like Back to the Future
No.
BC.
Back to the Future 1.21 gigawatts.
Okay. Yeah. Well, also, I guess did we probably should have established this a long time ago, but is the idea that it is a direct prequel or it's like a loose prequel with the new cast that's kind of like a reimagining, like a soft reboot style, where the idea would be that this prequel would spin a new franchise, or is it like a standalone, tastefully paying homage to the original movie sort of prequel?
I think that we have done a very tasteful job with how we've incorporated Biff as Hitler. I don't know that we could have done any better. I don't know that Robert Zemeckis himself could have done any better. And so
Schindler's List, I'm pretty sure, like once it hits theaters.
So are we settled then on Back to the Future 1.21?
Yeah, I guess.
As the title.
Doesn't make any sense.
Like we don't have a good title. But I don't think I don't know. I don't think it needs the good title because I honestly think this movie is a banger.
Okay, what if it's just BTTF, but the T's look like eyes, so it spells Biff? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like the top of the T, the slash is just slanted slightly upwards in a very SS jagged letter vibe.
So it is. I think then we need to have it be BTTF Origins. Whoa. And then it's Biff Origins.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's fucking great.
Because this is the origin of Biff.
Yes, we did it. Yeah. We cracked.
I think we just need to end the podcast now.
We'll wrap a bow on that one.
We did it.
Yeah.
All right.
Just so any buyers, anyone looking to invest in this film, we need approximately $3 billion. You can vend me.
I mean, I would start working on this film for roughly $10,000. But
yeah, I know a guy who does CGI, so he could probably get us those.
Yeah, get a robot fighter in there.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on Please Make This Movie. As always, please make this movie.
Please make this movie.
Please make this movie.
Bye.